Hello YouTube, I'm back, and I recently saw Transformers 4, so I decided to refresh both your and my memory of Transformers, all of the Transformers histories, by making, what the heck, this. I have decided to create minifig versions of many of the Transformers that we've seen in movies, the old action figures, the Transformers Prime TV show, and a bunch of other TV shows. A bunch of other things. So without further ado, let's get into the first row of characters, which are the Autobots and the Dinobots, which of course fight on the same team. So I'll let you pause the video here so that you can take a look and guess the names of each and every one of these characters. See if you can. So going through the list of names is Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Ratchet, Ironhide, Jazz, Grimlock, Mirage, Evac, and Rodimus. And of course the Dinobots in the back. I don't remember their names. And so, the row of Decepticons in the back, you can just pause right now to take a guess at who they are. Okay, going through the list of names is Galvatron, Starscream, Blackout, Demolisher, Soundwave, Lockdown, Sentinel Prime, and Frenzy. Oh, and of course that dog thing from the original show. And in the back are a row of these stingers, as said in the movie. And over here are the Unicron's minions from Transformers Prime. So I'm going to go through a little bit about each and every one of these characters. Oops. Oops. So, Optimus Prime, he of course transforms into a truck, and I kind of took this design a bit from the cartoony look of the really old TV show, but I used the color coordination more from the movie. I like how this, as you can see here, I really like the Galaxy Squad heads. They really make a good use for the Transformers heads in a lot of ways. So I really like how this how the kind of mouth grill thing at the bottom of the helmet makes up what you will often see in the movie as the mouth protection that you can often see on Optimus, especially in the movies. So moving on is Bumblebee, of course. He turns into, in the old show, a Volkswagen Bug, but in the new show, a Camaro. Personally, I think the Camaro looks cooler. And you see in the movie that he's got a great big blaster arm at his command, so I decided to not put a regular hand on his right arm, but a blaster arm. And I really like how I used the crash test dummy torso printing so that it makes what kind of looks like a black and white car parts. As you can see on all the characters, I did front torso printing, but nothing else. If I used an actual minifig head, of course I would use printing on that, with the exception of this guy, but you know what I mean. And this character is more based off of the movies than anything, the Bumblebee in the movies. Next character is Ratchet. He turns into an ambulance, or an armored truck, depending on who you ask. And you can tell that he is based on what he looks like in the movies, because in the really old TV show, he's actually red and white to complement his ambulance look, but in the movies, he's green. So I decided to put a torso full of vehicle symbols, including the Octan symbol, in it to kind of show that he turns into a vehicle that works for a company or whatever. Ironhide turns into a pickup truck in the movies, and he is completely black in the movies, which is really cool. And as you can clearly tell, I made the Ironhide which you see in the movies, not in the old TV show. There's nothing really much about him, but I really like how I believe that this is the evil mech torso that I got that printing off of. I think that looks pretty cool. Moving on is Jazz, which, as you can also tell, is the movie version, because in the old show, he is blue and white, mostly white, though. So, he's got this really neat laser arm, which, from the movie, you can tell wasn't as strong enough to pierce Megatron's armor. However, one of the things that I really like about him is the muscles printing that I put on the center. It really shows that there's no real symbols or plates on the car that he turns into, other than the stuff that folds into his back and his head. So it really gives a bit more of a robust look to what the Pontiac car transforms into. Next is Grimlock, one of the characters created for comic relief in Transformers 4. This is one of the few characters that I actually used a real minifig head for, but I used the most accurate robot head which I could find, which was the evil robot minifigure head, and I gave him a great big beard, a hat, and there's nothing really much else to do with him. And he turns into a big military vehicle. And of course, it's based off of what he looks like in the movie, Transformers 4. Next is Mirage, one of the few characters on this list that actually didn't appear in any... No, wait, he appears in Transformers 3, but he doesn't turn invisible there. Does he? I don't know, but... This is, of course, actually based off of what he looks like in the action figures. Of course, he would look incredibly similar to what he looks like here in the really old show, but I've decided to give him that look, and, of course, to make him look extra cool, I made him, of course, invisible, aka translucent. If you're wondering why I didn't use trans-clear bricks for this, it's because I wanted you to actually see him, because trans-clear bricks can actually be completely seen through, so I used trans-light blue, so that you can actually see him clearly. Another character that was not in the Transformers, the big Hollywood movies, is Evac. Now, this was one of my favorite, looking back, this was a really cool action figure to take ownership of when Transformers was the big thing at my school. Of course, I used the torso that provides a lot of symbols to show that he turns into a car that... Well, no, he turns into a helicopter. Turns into a vehicle that people use for business. And he's the only Autobot that I decided to put the mechanical leg on. The action figure is orange with spots of blue, and that's what I put on here. And the coolest thing about him, besides the use of the orange evil mech helmet, is the fact that I used a backplate and put on this really awesome propeller back, which is pretty accurate to the action figure, because his propeller folds onto his back, to my memory. Next character is one of my favorites of all time, Optimus Prime. He has the kind of race car helmet, head armor plating, his head armor plating from the original shows, and of course the CG movies that weren't real Hollywood movies, made him look like he was kind of wearing a race car helmet on his silverish face. So I decided to put that there. If you look real closely, you can actually see that there is actually printing on the top of his helmet, kind of to give that a little bit of an extra level of detail. I put on a torso that made him look like a kind of a race car driver, because that's what this character is all about. He turns into a real sporty car. Another one of the characters that aren't seen in any of the big Hollywood movies just yet. The TV show character is mostly red with spots of yellow, and of course a bit of gray, and orange for flames, so that's what I put on here. Oh, right, the Dinobots. I used light bluish gray and dark bluish gray to give them a bunch of metallic looks. I don't know the names of them, but I'm sure you can look it up, if they have names at all, and they transform into really big people, as seen in the movies. So, moving on to the Decepticons, we have Galvatron here first. Again, I used the muscle torso for the same reason as I used it on Jazz. And I used the exact same hat that I used on Optimus, because in Transformers 4, this is kind of a spoiler, but Galvatron is Megatron in the body, in a synthetic Transformers body based off of Optimus Prime's body. So that's what I did here. And the reason why I didn't make a full Megatron figure is that I couldn't find the right head for a Megatron figure, so I made the next best thing, which is basically Megatron in and of itself. Next character is one that surprisingly isn't a really big character in the Transformers movies, but is a big character in Transformers Prime, is Starscream. So if you look closely, you'll notice that I actually use a Clone Trooper pilot torso. I also like the use of the cyborg leg, so it kind of gives him a battered look. I used a snake head to give the really long face shown in Transformers Prime, and the most creative thing about this character is that I used a backshell plate and put on this piece that makes him look like he's got the wings that you see in Transformers the movie. Next character is Blackout. I used the same face as Starscream's, and okay, this is really cool. So as you can see, for the torso, I put on a really neat metal plate torso that kind of gives a rustic yet military look on his black and dark gray body. And, of course, the most accurate thing about this figure is the fact that I put the helicopter propeller on his hand, which, if you've ever owned the action figure of Blackout, that's exactly where it's put. So this is possibly the most action figure accurate character of them all in this list, for that very reason. Next character is Demolisher, Galvatron turns into a truck, much like Optimus Prime's truck. Starscream turns into a plane. Blackout turns into a helicopter. Demolisher turns into a tank. There's nothing really to explain about this character. You can figure out what I use: the head, the arms, and coloration, and all the coloration and stuff that I use for this character. So there's nothing really to explain about him. Something cool that I did was I put the leather strap in the center to give it a bit more of a military yet warrior look, based off of the movies, of course. All these characters so far are based off of the movies. In contrast to that, we move on to Soundwave, who is based off of his look in Transformers Prime. This speedy, slick look is not completely accurate to the source material, but close enough, because he's got that big hollow face that it's just purple light coming out of it. So I used the evil robot torso printing for this, the purple where it needs to be, and then on the arm I put a giant sound blaster cannon. Moving on to Lockdown, who was in many ways one of the main antagonists of Transformers 4. I'm not sure if he's actually a Decepticon, but there's really nothing to explain about this character except for the fact that I used an old spaceman helmet for this character to give the armor plating look that he had in the movies, and I like my choice of brown pieces. Next character is Sentinel Prime. I haven't seen Transformers 3, so I just decided to make this character anyway, but I think it looks really cool. He bears a lot of similarities to Optimus, as you can see in the movie, and this is the closest color that I could get to the reddish-pinkish color. Nothing too important about this character. Moving on to we are now moving on to Frenzy, which was one of the comic relief yet really menacing bad guys of the first movie. Possibly the most creative thing about this character is the fact that I used a Space Police Cranks helmet to give the flailing off metal hair, the bulging eyes, and of course the mouth. I used a Ninjago skeleton torso, interesting arms. I believe these are General Grievous arms, and Darth Maul legs, and they are all silverish chrome. I think this is one of my favorite figures in this list for all this detail and stuff. It's really cool. And of course, this is not scale accurate to the rest of the characters because these guys are huge and this guy's tiny. Moving on to the dog thing from the original Transformers show, all I did here was take a wolf, color him black, and stick a purple radio on top. Nothing really exciting. Not one of my favorite figures on this list, but does the trick. And in the back, I have a row of stingers, which, as you can see, are basically just red bumblebees, because in the movie, they are synthetic copies of Bumblebee meant to be used by the KSI organization for evil. And here's another spoiler. Galvatron, aka Megatron, takes over them and they all become Decepticons at the end of the movie. And there's a bunch of them. There's something that surprised me about the movie is that there was only one Galvatron, and there was a bunch of stingers. If you don't really understand what I'm talking about there, you'll understand when you see the movie. Another not-so-scale-accurate character on this list is the Unicron's minion from Transformers Prime. Transformers Prime. And this guy looks like he just came out of the dirt because that's exactly what he does in Transformers Prime. He's got a giant blaster arm, and an armor warrior torso, a mix of shiny copper and regular brown body parts makes this character look pretty cool. And just to let you know, it's not scale accurate, so this guy's actually really huge compared to the rest of the Transformers, even bigger than that dinosaur guy over here. So, I don't know what head I used for this. I don't know what character it originated from. Lego Digital Designer says it's from some sort of good guy head. I have no idea. So, if someone could tell me what head it is from, I just found it, and I thought it was pretty cool. So, this concludes the video. I went through every single one of these characters, and I hope you enjoyed. So, have a great day, and subscribe if you haven't already, and keep it tuned to my channel. Bye-bye.